I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Once you get to the place that you know and that he knows that you know, you might be screwed. Let's break this down exactly so you know what it means and how to actually work through how do you survive it. Welcome back to Raw Motivations, where I don't sugarcoat the hell that you've been living in. I expose it, dismantle it, and give you the tools to finally break free. Some of you are probably here, and you're probably sitting here thinking, Ben, I've watched so many of your videos, I get it now. I finally see what's been happening to me. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Once you get to the place that you know, and that he knows that you know, you might be screwed. Let's break this down exactly so you know what it means and how to actually work through how do you survive it. One of the most common questions that I get is, does the narcissist actually know? Does he know? Does he know that he's abusive? Does he know that he's insecure? And the answer in a quick nutshell is kind of. He's not clueless. He's not completely delusional, and he knows that his behaviors cause damage. He feels that gnawing piece of shame, but instead of facing it, he runs from it. He justifies it. He lashes out. It's like an addict needing a fix. He has to get that rage, that manipulation out of his system. I've been there. I've been standing in the kitchen with my wife in the past after an argument and feeling her shame and guilt coming at me. The hurt, the tears in her eyes, and all I could think is like, if I don't get this out, if I don't say this, knock this down a peg, I'm gonna explode. And I would hurt her. But even though I knew it was wrong, even though I knew it was gonna hurt her, there was a piece of me that was like, let me release this tension because I felt inside that it was unbearable. So I got to the place where the words flew, and like knowing they'd cut her, knowing they'd hurt her, knowing that I'd regret it later and feel the shame of it later, but feeling like I had no choice of like, let me just get this out. He knows that it's wrong too, but entitlement screams louder. And if he was honest, he'd actually say, why can't everyone just let me get away with it? I don't mean half the stuff I say anyways. I just want to feel powerful for a second to be able to cope with his insecurities, but he can't say that. Instead, he's got to tear you apart. There's a moment in every narcissistic relationship when the dynamic shifts. He starts to see that you see him for what he really is. Maybe you stop reacting to the gaslighting. Maybe you started standing a little bit taller, not crumbling every time he threatens divorce or throws these passive-aggressive jabs at you. And that's when it gets worse. Why? Well, because you pierced his fragile ego, and now he's scrambling to be able to regain control, to be able to get control and dominance back over you. I remember I felt a shift in my own marriage. When Kayla stopped trying to please me. She stopped bending over backwards to be able to keep me happy. She stopped serving me. I felt it. I felt control kind of slipping through my fingers, and there was a piece of it that terrified me because I was losing control. So I doubled down. I got meaner. I knew exactly what to say to be able to cut her deeper, mocking her dreams, her friends, her insecurities. I needed to push her back into the place where she questioned herself so that I could feel secure, so I could feel powerful. But if you can hold your ground, something starts to shift. He starts to deflate. Now, he might get bored, but getting to that point, like, it's hell. He notices every change in you because narcissists are constantly scanning for threats. They crave validation, respect, and when they realize that you're pulling away, they panic. Of like, oh, what's going on? Then you'll start to see that he gets to a place where he pushes you just a little bit too far. And when he pushes you, you're like, it's going to terrify him. Because it's a piece of not losing you, but losing control over how you feel. He'll cycle through rage, he'll fake remorse, he'll have different insults, charm, but here's the truth. Once you see the pattern, once you really get it, and that's what I'm here for, to show you every manipulation, every game, so you can finally break free. But brace yourself, because understanding his abuse means he's going to come at you maybe even harder. It's not fair, it's not easy, but it is the only way out. If you start to gray rock him, then you've probably noticed the pattern already. It's like a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down. At first, he's furious because you're no longer reacting to the way that you used to react. You're no longer feeding his need for drama, and that terrifies him. It scares him because the validation isn't coming the same exact way. It used to be a piece where this person in your life, you started to gray rock. It feels like a gut punch to him. There's no more arguments to be able to feed his ego. There's no more begging him to say. There's no more endless attempts to be able to prove that you're worthy, and he might rage. He might push even harder. Inside of this, he might come after every insecurity that you know, your friendships, your dreams, even the way that you dress. Because he knows if he can break you down, then he'll feel okay. And that's happening to you over and over. He's escalating. He's pushing it. He's saying things you never thought he'd even say, doing things you never thought he'd ever do. And you're sitting here wondering, how is this my life? How did I even get here? How did it get so bad? Harsh reality is typically it has to get worse before it gets better. Because there's a piece of it that he's testing you. He's waiting to see, are you going to break? And trust me, he knows exactly where your breaking point is. He's tapped on it very, very many times. He's mapped out every insecurity, every fear, every secret that you've ever shared with him. And he's not afraid to use them against you. It's terrifying, isn't it? To know that someone that you loved, someone that you trusted, that you gave your heart to, is now weaponizing all of your vulnerabilities. But now, what's even more terrifying? Staying? Being stuck in this cycle forever? The reason he's spiraling is simple. Narcissists fear exposure more than anything else. The vulnerability, the shame. The moment he realizes you've seen behind his mask, his world starts to crumble. Let me be clear. Narcissists don't handle vulnerability well. In fact, they'll do anything to avoid it. How do I run from vulnerability? How do I run from showing up? I remember there was a piece of me that was afraid every single time that someone got too close because they would see the real me. The shame became unbearable. It was a piece where I would just lash out. I'd tell myself, they're the problem, not me. It was easier to blame every single else than it was to face my own reflection, to deal with my own problems. Your narcissist is no different. He knows that you see him now. He knows that you're starting to understand the manipulation, the gaslighting, the control. And that scares the hell out of him because he's thinking, I'm going to lose this, so he's going to fight back. Harder, meaner. He might get more desperate. There's an unspoken war that's happening right now in your home. You feel it every time he walks into the room. Tensions kick up and it's thick enough to even choke on. Every glance, every sigh, every passive-aggressive comment is another weapon in his arsenal. Just to be able to attack you. And you're at the place where you're completely exhausted, emotionally, mentally, physically, just drained. And he's at a place where he's watching you crumble. He's putting all this weight of manipulation over you. And it just makes him feel powerful. He gets off on this. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you cry yourself to sleep, he feels like he won. But you keep showing up. You keep being resilient. And he doesn't expect that from you either. Narcissists are prepared for tears. They're prepared for begging and pleading, your endless attempts to be able to fix him, to be able to fix what's broken. But what they're not prepared for is your silence. They're not prepared for your strength. What he's not prepared for is the moment you decide enough is enough. And that moment terrifies him because he's losing control. There's a breaking point inside of every narcissistic relationship, and you're probably closer to it than you realize. Because in that moment, when you wake up and one day you think, I can't do this anymore, I'm not even sure who I am anymore. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. You wake up and you watch this happen in your life, and all of a sudden you realize, I've lost myself. You stop laughing, you stop dreaming, you stop believing in yourself. And he feels triumphant because she needs me now. She'll never leave. But another part, the part that I never wanted to face, there's a piece of me that felt hollow. Because deep down, I knew, deep down, he knows that he's the reason, the cause of your pain. He knows that he's the reason for your pain, but admitting that, owning that, never going to happen. He'll avoid it for as long as he can. So what does he do instead? He pushes harder. He'll threaten to leave, knowing that the thought of abandonment might terrify you. There might be a fear of accusing you of being the problem, knowing that you'll do anything to prove him wrong. He'll manipulate every word, every action, every moment to keep you under his thumb. This is what he's doing. But here's what he doesn't see coming. Your awakening. There's something powerful about awareness. You waking up. Once you can see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the awareness, it's your ticket out. It's the first step. The first step in seeing and understanding who you are. The awareness needs to happen here to be able to see what is happening in my life. And you start to see this reality. Your narcissist has a fear. He sees the shift inside of you. Maybe you're not reacting the way that you used to. Maybe you're starting to recover and reclaim pieces of yourself. Maybe for the first time in a long time, you're choosing yourself. And that choice, it's his worst nightmare. Because narcissists thrive on control. It's their oxygen. It's their lifeline. And when you take that away, he suffocates. He loses. You've been told it's all your fault, and that makes you feel crazy. No one understands you, and that leaves you in a place of being alone. You've tried to break free multiple times, and that leaves you helpless because nothing you've done has actually worked. It hasn't actually got you free or liberated from this toxic relationship. So you feel crazy, alone, and hopeless. Guess what? That's a lie. Because all it is how you've been raised and conditioned inside of this abusive relationship over and over. And as a result, you've sacrificed your growth, you've sacrificed your worth, and you've been trapped inside of a toxic relationship. What if I showed you the path to freedom? A way for you to actually get free mentally and emotionally from the toxicity that's happening right here, right now. You deserve more. You deserve to be able to heal. And I want to help you with that. If I can help you with that, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, schedule a call there, and let's talk. Here's the thing about narcissists. They don't go down without a fight. It's not going to be an easy one. This is the part that no one likes to talk about, the part where things get worse before they get better. Everybody wants to hear about it leaving and getting better, but it gets worse first. Because once he knows that you're slipping through his fingers, he's going to pull out all the stops to keep you in his grip, holding on super tight. Like, I've seen this. I've watched myself become someone I didn't recognize just to avoid losing control. The lies got bigger. The manipulation got darker. Everything shifted because I wanted to make sure I kept what was mine, because that's what I viewed it as. But that's what you're facing. There's a storm before the calm. He's going to gaslight you until you question your own reality about things. You're imagining things. You're overreacting. You're crazy. He'll isolate you from the people that you love. Your family, they don't actually care about you. I'm the only one who's been here for you through all of this. He'll strip away every ounce of confidence that you have left. No one else will ever want you. You're nothing without me. And you feel like you're drowning, gasping for air, desperate for relief. But hear me when I say this. You can survive this. You can break free. I've seen it happen. I've watched women claw out of the way of the darkest pits of abuse, rebuild their lives. And every single one of them thought at the beginning that it wasn't possible until it wasn't. And here's where it gets brutal. Holding your ground, holding this place. Every fiber of your being is screaming for you to give in, for you to just stop, for you to just make the pain stop, to go back to the familiar chaos, the place that you've been. Because at least you know what to expect. You know how he's going to react and rage. I get it. I've seen that. I've seen the piece of desperation, like exasperation of like, okay, I'll just stay. You might have cried, screamed, pleaded, and every time he's just thinking, good, she still cares, she still needs me. But you get to the place the begging turns to silence. He's panicking. He sees you pulling away, and he'll do whatever it takes to pull you back in. Don't underestimate that. He'll do whatever it takes. When you say you're done, he's like, wait a second, what do I need to do? Oh, well, let me actually love bomb her. Let me actually give her everything that she promised, that I promised her. Let me tell her this. Let me do this. I'll change. I'm sorry. You're the only person I've ever loved. And for a moment, you'll believe him. But not for long. And that's the thing with waking up. You can't go back to sleep. And if you do, you stay stuck forever. Because once you've seen the truth, nothing feels the same. The house you built together turns into a prison. The memories you once cherished, now they're just weapons that he's throwing at you. Every moment with him feels like another nail in your coffin. But the truth that most people won't tell you, leaving isn't the hardest part. Staying gone is. I've watched women leave narcissistic relationships only get pulled back in time and time and time again, not because they're weak, but because they don't know any better, because the trauma bond is real and breaking them feels like ripping your soul apart. This piece of you actually breaking free, he's like, nah, she's going to come back. And when you don't, it's like he's staring into a void. You'd rejected him. It becomes unbearable. So that's why he's going to fight hard right now. Because he needs you to need him. Because without you, he has to face himself. He has to look at himself in the mirror. And that's the scariest thing of all. Doesn't want to deal with it. So what do? How do you hold your ground when everything inside of you is breaking? You start realizing that you're not alone. There are other people who've walked this path before you that have survived, thrived even. There are other people that have gone to therapy, that have worked through the things that have happened in their lives. It's not easy, it's not pretty, but it was necessary. You have to get to the place where you see this and you understand that you're not alone. There's other people that have gone through this and have kept going. Every time he gaslights you, remind yourself of the truth. Every time he isolates you, reach out to someone who loves you. Every time he breaks you down, build yourself back up. It's not fair. It's not easy, but it is possible. And when you feel like you can't take another step, remember this. There's a life waiting for you on the other side of this hell, a life where you wake up without fear, a life where you rediscover who you are, a life where you finally breathe again. I know what you're thinking. If it's so bad, why can't I just leave? Why is there still a part of me that still wants to be with him? That's the twisted power of narcissistic abuse. It's not just about what he's done to you physically or emotionally. It's about what he's done to your mind. This is what he's shifted, what he's changed. He's created chaos inside of your mind. Gotten to the place where you don't even know who you are anymore. And he hasn't helped you find yourself. He's just exploited you even more. He's left you confused and lost because the more he has you lost, the more he's in control. He made you question your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. And now, even though you see the truth, part of you still wonders, what if I'm wrong? What if he can change? What if this is the best I'll ever have? Let me tell you, it's not. He's not going to change just because you beg him. He's not going to change because you love him more. He's only going to change whenever he hits rock bottom and realizes that no one's coming to save him. Until he's willing to be honest with himself. But he's not going to change, not for you, not for your kids, not for anyone. And the longer you continue to wait, you wait for him to become someone that he'll never be, the more pieces of yourself that you lose. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm here to wake you up. You've told yourself a million lies just to survive the relationship. Maybe if I love him more, he'll stop. Maybe if I change, maybe if I become the perfect wife, he'll change. Maybe if I give him more time, he'll see what he's losing. I know those lies because I've heard them from every woman that we've helped. And every time they think, okay, maybe this is it, he switches it back over again. Maybe becoming perfect, it won't change him. Waiting for him will only destroy you. Inside of this, you need to understand you might give everything. You might do everything. Still, it'll never be enough. Not because you're not enough, but because he's empty. And no amount of love is going to fill the void. He's empty, and the more you give, the more he'll take until there's nothing left of you. So what's the turning point for you? When do you finally say enough is enough? For some women, it's a moment of clarity, waking up one day and realizing I deserve more. For others, it's hitting rock bottom, realizing that staying might actually kill you. If not physically, then emotionally. If you don't wake up to this reality, how long do you stay stuck? How long do you stay until you say, enough is enough? You have to love yourself enough to walk away, to be able to say, I'm done, to believe that there's a life worth living outside of his control. I know it feels impossible. I know it feels terrifying. But I've watched women do it. And every single one of them thought they couldn't until they did. Every people thought it was impossible. Reclaiming your power after narcissistic abuse isn't a one-time event. It's a daily choice and a battle that you fight every morning when you wake up and every night when you go to bed. It's in the little moments. The moments when you choose to believe in yourself, even when his voice still echoes in your mind. Inside of this, I want you to consider. You have to remind yourself every single day that you're not crazy, that you're not alone, that you're not worthless, that you deserve peace. And you might have to fight to believe that. Some days you win, sometimes you don't. But you don't stop. This is what I need for you. I need you to fight, not for him, not for the relationship, but for yourself. He's not going to make it easy. He's going to gaslight you every step of the way. You're overreacting. You'll never survive without me. No one will ever love you like I do. And some days you'll believe him. But those are the days that you have to fight the hardest in order to be free. He needs you more than you need him. And once you realize that, once you truly believe it, you'll become unstoppable. Leaving is hard, it's messy, it's painful. And some days you'll want to go back just to make the pain stop, just to avoid how it feels. It's going to hurt so much, but staying is going to hurt even more. That's the choice that you're facing, the pain of leaving or the pain of staying. One will heal you, and the other will destroy you. But here's what I need you to know. There's life after this, a life where you laugh without fear, a life where you wake up without anxiety, a life where you rediscover who you are. I've seen it happen. I've watched women who never thought they'd survive, build lives they never dreamed were possible. If they can do it, so can you. Where do you start? How do you take the first step when the weight of all of this feels completely unbearable? You start first by reaching out, by asking for help, by surrounding yourself with people who see you, who believe in you, and who will walk this journey with you. I know it feels impossible. I know it feels terrifying, but I'm here to be able to help you. You don't have to do it alone. If you're at the place where you're ready to break free, if you're ready to take the first step towards healing, I want you to reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Let's take this step together. Let's break this cycle. Let's find your freedom. Let's get you connected to other women so you don't feel alone, so you have the community and the accountability moving forward, because you deserve to heal. You deserve the life that you're meant to live. You always have. You've just forgotten and lost that by being with him for so long.